Well, with the third episode of Creature Commandos, it appears, I'm guessing, maybe throughout the series, there'll be these individual character studies of the different members of the Commandos. They've already done it with the Bride, and this episode was G.I. Robot. And he is a robot, but things don't go well for him at the end. But he is a robot. I won't spoil everything, but we get his story, and of course he was invented back during World War II. And there's little nods here, certainly to Will Magnus, and all that, who goes on to create the Metal Men and so on and so forth. But the basics of it is he fought in World War II, and that's primarily what he was programmed to do, was to fight the Germans in the war. And he runs into Sergeant Rock. So they've established Sergeant Rock. There's been stories of Daniel Craig being cast as Sergeant Rock, and I guess they would do the movie in the past for him. Unless there's going to be some time travel shenanigans or supernatural business for Sergeant Rock to be in contemporary times. I don't know. But it's possible the DCU will span, the centuries and whatnot. I mean, certainly they're supposed to do this Paradise Island series and all that. But anyway, so as the story progresses, against whatever the plot is upon that Cersei's up to with her army of, if you can get past that, you kind of get some okay stories. Here, it's not bad. It's just this kind of sad story of this robot. And I keep forgetting her name, but the fish girl has affections for the robot. And then the princess is in trouble. Cersei gets a hold of her and all this sort of thing. But the tale of the robot, I've got some problems with it. It's just the on-the-nose politics of it. And I know what you're saying. And there's very little stomach for that anymore. So probably shouldn't have done it that way. But you did. So a lot of people have probably already tuned out just for that alone. And if you saw the show, you know what I mean. Even if you just saw the first episode. So, but the rest of it, it's performed well for the voice actor and the art and everything. And it does evoke this sort of, strange, but it's sad story with this poor robot character who, of course, as typical with, robots and androids, they don't quite understand human nature and that sort of thing. And he's put in this position, and he's trying to apply it long after the war is over, and he gets shuffled around and all this sort of stuff, sort of forgotten about. You would think it's such a destructive weapon, as he demonstrates in the battle with Cersei and her crew, that you can't just leave this guy laying around. Plus, there's where does he get all the bullets? He's just spraying bullets all over the place. It'd be something if they developed some sort of energy weapon for him and that sort of thing. But anyway, that's the deal. And, he does come in handy while they're in a bit of a rut in the battle and what have you. But he's no match for Cersei with her powers. However, surprisingly, Dr. Phosphorus gets the best of Cersei in here. You kind of expect that with his abilities. But he double teams with Weasel. Yes, Weasel gets and gives Cersei a makeover. So it's got these elements to it. And of course, so far, really, Dr. Phosphorus is my favorite character. Weasel, of course, you can't go wrong with that. And depending on how they do it. And we might get the Weasel story, I'm guessing. I don't know if each character gets their story, where they came from. Of course, So now we have G.I. Robot and the Bride. We understand them, where they came from, and all this sort of stuff. So I guess next episode there'll be another one. And it's a way to introduce these characters and spell it out, of course, whereas little by little the mission that they're currently on unfolds. And that's an interesting way. And, you know, and for the nature of it, how many episodes you have or what you were going to pursue, this is a means by which, well, let me explain who this guy is. And then the final episode probably wraps up the story overall after you've been, detailed and introduced to this cast. Anyway, as strange as they are, it's pretty easy to see that there's a story behind all of them. How close it is to the comic book origins? Well, so far as best of my knowledge, it is pretty close. I don't know that. Well, I'm sure if they insinuated there was a romance between the Bride and Dr. Frankenstein rather than the monster, don't think they went to that gratuitous detail on that. But, well, you get the idea. So obviously the robot didn't have any relations like that, although Fish Girl does seem quite taken with him. But we'll see. Again, he is a robot, so certain things are possible. Anyway, he demonstrates his power ability. Looks like, I would guess, there's been some advancements to him over the years. What he demonstrates in the battle, there's a demonstration similar of it from World War II in it, but he does it in a much different way. So I'm guessing as time went on, he got some, advancements to his abilities and extra toys in there. And I don't know that they would offer any kind of explanation as to where he gets these bullets. Is he able to conjure them up? How would you do that? It seems like if he was conjuring it out of himself, eventually there'd be nothing of him there. But anyway, so it's fine for what it is, except for the glaring bad stuff in it. That if you remove that and added a little more of the silly, it'd be all right. It's not the best way to introduce your second attempt at a shared superhero universe over the medium of film and television, or streaming rather. But of course, I understand that was the circumstances they came into, and this is just yet another derivative of James Gunn's approach to Suicide Squad, which is within what I would expect him to be able to do, as I'm very nervous about him handling Superman. This sort of thing, yeah, he's very much capable of this, and I always thought Suicide Squad made a better fit for him than even Guardians did, because the Guardians he did is not the Guardians. But with Suicide Squad, you always had, there were villains and everything, so you can kind of take more liberties with them in this wild romp that would occur for that sort of thing. The one saving grace about it is that it does explain itself, and it does keep itself within what happened to Waller at the end of Peacemaker. And, she's managed to outfox the rules put upon her and that sort of thing. So that's rather fitting within it. But ultimately, in comparison to Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, it's pretty watered down from that as far as the pacing and the hit that it would meet for plot points and whatnot. So 3 episodes in, I think this one so far is the best one of the 3, just on the charm of the robot story. So we'll see. Be interesting to see Dr. Phosphorus' story if they go into that, because that came out of Batman. I don't know that are they able to mention Batman at this point, or do they just keep him like in a black silhouette, and you don't really get a good look at him or something? I don't know. Because they haven't cast him yet, or are they just going to suddenly, surprise, we're going to merge the Reeves universe with DCU, so it's Pattinson? I doubt it. But anyway, So, third episode in, that's kind of similar with Skeleton Crew. The third episode seems to be the best one so far of these shows. And, but then there's more to come, so it can undo all of that. But between the two, oddly enough, there's elements of Creature Commandos that bothers me a lot more than what Skeleton Crew is doing. Which is odd, because I think the Star Wars franchise is badly, irreparably damaged now. Whereas DC, if they would just get their act together, should do all right. It has more opportunities to do so. But so far, it's not really occurring. But again, this is just a silly little cartoon. And should it fail terribly, it can easily just move on. And we'll see how Peacemaker Season 2 does, which will immediately follow the Superman film. But anyway, there you go. G.I. Robot story, as told by Creature Commandos.